Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today on the premiere episode of 20 Somethings. I'm Tico,
And I'm Nas.
and we're a couple of 20 somethings who recognize that the last thing the world needs is another podcast, but here we are doing the damn thing. We're not saying we know everything, but we're not saying we know anything either. So, just a disclaimer, we're not political pundits or commentators on CNN, so whatever views and opinions expressed are rudimentary at best and will inevitably evolve as time goes by, and the more we do our readings.
So, just to be clear, these are our personal opinions. We have done no research. For the most part, we will do research where it is necessary, but we're just voicing our feelings and our opinions on things of the world.
Yeah. So today's topic, I think we want to talk about relationships and dating because my track record is garbage. And I feel like Nas's is more, I wouldn't say pristine, but I definitely have a lot to learn from her. And I'm curious to just talk about how our experiences differ and how they're similar and what are our own personal views on relationships. So let's start with you, Max. Like, tell me about, what you look for in a partner and what your experiences have been like dating. And then, because mine is longer, I'm gonna go last.
I was just about to say you've dated more people.
I don't know.
Dated,
Yeah, quote unquote.
You've hung out with more people than I
I
have.
think that's the PG-13 version. I don't know if I'd say I've had many dates, but I've definitely had a lot of experiences.
A lot of experience.
A lot of experiences. So yeah, just walk us through your time on the dating scene. What's that been like for you?
Well, as you know, we're in a pandemic. So I guess we'll talk about before the pandemic.
I know.
It's crazy how it's like pre-pandemic, post-pandemic now.
I know.
But I guess I've only seriously dated one person for 4 years.
And you're like, this is it. No more.
Never again. I am happy with myself. But you asked what my type was. My friend was asking me the other day, and I was like, I feel like when you're just thinking about your type in your head, it's like easy for you to like envision this person.
Yeah.
But when someone asks you, you're like, what is my
What
type?
is my type?
Because it's like I can say funny, tall, dark, and handsome. I don't know. But it's like I feel like the most important thing for me would be like being self-sufficient and like emotional intelligence.
For sure.
Because I feel like if you're emotionally intelligent, there's a lot of like obstacles that we can figure out and shit like that. But my type, tall, dark, and handsome, emotionally intelligent and self-sufficient. That's I'm not kidding. I would love a tall, dark, and handsome person. But I don't know. What about you?
Well, honestly, I wouldn't say I have a type because
I agree with that.
listen, I'm so open-minded to the point where I will consider anything that moves, and it's I'm ashamed to even admit this out loud, but it doesn't matter what you look like, what race you are, what size you are, how big
and
you
that
are.
can be taken a variety of ways.
But no, it's just I feel like personality is really what sells me, and it does for me.
But sorry to cut you, but does personality really sell it? Because sometimes the people you date, their personalities aren't
trash.
They're
trash
not great.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm guilty of seeing what I want to see, and I
like the potential.
The potential, it's very much that, and I kind of mold them or have this preconceived notion of who they are in my mind's eye. And so I just go with that. And then when the red flags appear, I kind of disregard them.
and then when you can't disregard them anymore, you're like, I'm shocked.
I'm shocked.
I had no idea.
This is not the person I met 5 months ago. What?
2 weeks ago.
I know, and then I end up like bailing because I'm just so overwhelmed. By the way, I get overwhelmed easy, as you know. I'm a panicker. I
Block and delete
block and delete.
immediately.
Listen, because I'm not very confrontational. I don't like conflict, so it's easier for me to run away. My flight or
It's
go ahead.
it's funny. You're so contradicting because
Mm,
you don't like conflict,
right.
but people will know how you feel about
And
something.
yeah, because it goes back to what you were saying earlier. Like I am attracted to people who do know how to communicate and express themselves, and I feel as if you can't attract what you aren't. So you have to be that person, and then you'll attract that specific type
You
of
attract
person.
what you are.
Yeah, so but it's kind of ironic because I'm just like, if I keep attracting trash people, what does
Am
it
I?
say about me? And I don't know. I don't know how I like find myself in these relationships because I'm never actively seeking them. I just end up in them. Well, that's not necessarily true because I would consider myself a romantic at heart, but I don't know. I'm so jaded at the idea of like a monogamous relationship right now that I'm just like,
Really?
I don't know. Well, I don't know. I mean, I would like. I am a. How would I put this without seeming like a whore? Like I am a one guy kind of guy, but at the same time, it's like the type of guys that I've been with. It's just they've really like tainted my experience of love. That I'm not so enthused about the idea of settling down right now.
But it's also like, have you been in a like serious relationship? Like, what's the longest?
That's a very good question. Like I'd say 9 months, and that was a couple years ago.
That was years ago.
Years
Like
ago, that was
5 years.
my
Not
first.
that long. Like 4.
Oh, I was like, I don't even remember. I was 19,
Yeah.
and I mean
9 months.
9 months, right? But the funny thing is, we're always breaking up with each other because deep down, I never thought
So it was a toxic relationship.
I
So
don't
you guys
talk
are like on and off.
on and off for sure. I don't know. Toxic is a heavy word, and he tried. He
So
was.
you are the problem.
Well, I don't know. I guess you could say that, but at the same time, it's just like when you have an idea of how it's supposed to go,
Yeah.
and
And they're not living up to
they're
that.
not living up to it, and you're just like, why is this not working out?
Do you think it makes you a bit resentful of them? Like, here's this person just existing in their space
I
as
know.
a person and like doing the best they can, and you are just looking at them with the stink eye. Like,
Why are you not my dream boy?
why are you not the way I want you to be?
I know, and it's admittedly a lot of pressure to put on someone to like live up to those types of expectations, and that might be impractical at best or impossible at worst. But I mean, we were raised on happily ever after and Disney princess and fairy tales, and like you just imagine that okay, when you meet the one, you're gonna feel fireworks and you're gonna feel, oh my god, where have you been?
It's funny that you say we were raised on that, but like nobody in my life has that relationship like the fairy tale.
I know.
So it's like, are we doing literal the opposite of what we were raised on?
It's so funny. Like that's a very valid point because I relate to that 100%. Like I look at the people in my life and the types of relationships they have, and I don't want to mirror that at all. It's very dysfunctional. It's very toxic. It's not anything I aspire towards. And I wonder to what extent do these relationships that we are exposed to, like, how do they inform the types of relationships that we pursue? You know what I mean? Because you can't. I don't know. It's
we,
like
we were talking about it that like probably earlier where I was saying because of not having like positive romantic relationship role models, and seeing like how, like you said, how dysfunctional and toxic these relationships are. It's like I am trying to do the opposite of that. And I feel like in doing that, I'm kind of like having these high expectations of
Right.
people, which goes back to you saying you have these unrealistic expectations of
Mm-hmm.
people. So instead of like falling into the same generational curse,
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote generational curse, it's like I literally want to do the opposite of everything that my mother does or my
Right.
aunt and any of those people where I see in these relationships where I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like this is something I want for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I have these grand ideas in my head of who
Mm-hmm.
my partner is supposed to be without thinking about them being like an individual,
Right.
but just more like who they are for me and
Right.
who they are to me.
Right.
So I feel like that's something I'm working on.
It's all a work in progress for sure. And I don't know, I feel as if like you can only do so much with what you have available to you. And so I kind of empathize with these adults in our lives who have these dysfunctional relationships because perhaps they are mirroring what they grew up with and they can like you don't know what you don't you can only know so much
All right.
and do with what you have like oh like the words are on the tip
It's
of
also
yeah.
like crap, what was I saying?
Right? Brain fart.
Brain fart. It's like how you grew up in a dysfunctional family
Mm-hmm.
and you start dating someone and they're like emotionally stable,
Mm-hmm.
but for you that's a completely new thing, and so you keep creating chaos because it's what you know,
Exactly, exactly.
and so you kind of ruin that very good and healthy
Yes,
relationship because you're not used to anything healthy.
I'm glad you made that point because it ties into my first relationship I was like alluding to earlier. That was exactly the dynamic. It's like, what do you do when you're like, you're with someone and they want to do everything they can to make you happy, but like deep down
And
you're
they're so
like,
sure too.
I
Like
know.
when somebody's sure of you and
Mm-hmm.
you're
You're
just like,
uncertain.
yeah,
You're
you're
like,
like,
oh
I'm such an
shoot.
asshole.
Yeah, and you do kind of beat yourself up a little bit because they're doing all they can to ensure that your needs are met, but deep inside you're like, I'm not sure that you're the one for me,
Right.
and you're just like, am I being unrealistic? What's going on? And so you end up like leaving this person and
In pursuit of the
other yeah
one
yeah
or
not just
something else.
or just individuals who aren't emotionally intelligent, who are commitment phobic, and they
Do you
have
think we like drama?
I do I like drama? I'm a messy bitch who lives for drama.
Very chaotic.
Listen, it's so funny because like I wouldn't describe myself as a drama queen, but it's like for some reason
It's like
drama
a personality trait at this point.
it's like I attract like a lot of
I feel
drama.
like you've been very good for the last 2 years.
Ah!
What was the most recent like?
I got fired last
Oh
year.
my god, you're right. And it was because of something you did.
I know. Listen, I just listen when things are too perfect. I'm
That
like,
wasn't perfect.
well, when things go well, I'm just like, okay, let's self
How can I
destruct.
ruin this?
How can I wreak havoc? So I don't, and I think that goes back to like the dysfunction that I grew up with in my own family, because it's like, what does it mean to be at peace? What does it mean
It's
to
funny because we're the opposite.
be?
Like you, I guess, continue that pattern, and I'm trying so hard
Right.
to break out of a pattern. Like
Mhm.
maybe I'm making myself miserable,
Yeah.
not like just relaxing and like taking a breather,
Mhm.
taking a breath, like just having fun. We do have fun.
Of course.
But I feel like while you continue that pattern, I'm like,
You're like,
do
this
I
will never be
escape?
me.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I am self-aware. I recognize that the things I do are very self-destructive, and I'll take a step back and be like, okay, I need to stop this. This is a bad habit, and things will be fine for like 21 days, maybe
21 days.
maybe a couple months. But then something happens that disappoints me in some regard, and then
And
I
you
revert. I fall back into those ways.
relapse,
and it's just how I can never seem to break myself out of this cycle, and it's vicious. And and a part of me is just like, is there a part of me that feels like when I meet quote unquote the one, will I be on that straight and narrow path where I don't feel this need to self destruct? You know what I mean? It's like
because they're just going to happen.
mm.
That's I don't want to agree with that because it's kind of like I feel that's like you put in
that
your
pressure, that
growth
burden. Yeah.
on your partner. I feel like you should make yourself the best
No,
version
for
of
sure.
yourself so
Definitely.
you can attract the best partner.
No.
Also, I do believe
Mhm.
that sometimes you meet people and they do make you better.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
For
That
sure.
happens. But it also shouldn't be a situation where you're like, when I meet this person,
Everything will fall into place. Like everything will.
that will fuck you
I
up.
know for sure, but it's also it's like it will keep me accountable almost because it's it's funny I even say this because I have been in situations before where I am interacting with someone and they're so I don't want to say perfect, but they're so nice and decent and I'm there and I'm just like, oh, I don't deserve this. I shouldn't be here. Like I'm an awful garbage human. This is terrible. And then I end up sabotaging that relationship. And it's like maybe a part of it does like relate to like self perception and what you feel about yourself personally. And so maybe you attract people who reinforce your own self beliefs. So if you think you're a garbage person, you're going to attract garbage people who reinforce that or make you question your self worth because you're already not so 100% sure of yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it's also like, does it happen where you meet like quite literally the opposite of yourself and it drives you crazy? Because like you're this hot chaoticness and this, not you specifically, but like a person and they meet like the literal opposite of themselves, just calm, collected and has their shit together, and it drives you crazy because it's a situation where like maybe they show you what you aren't.
Yeah.
And so like them being in it can go one of both ways. It can either just make you resent yourself and resent them, or it can be a situation where they make you want to be better.
Right.
So I don't know.
You know what's funny? It's like, and I was talking to a friend about this very same thing, where it's like,
a friend, I'm your only friend.
Fuck off! No, I have other gentlemen callers. No. But like we're talking, and I was like, I have this tendency where, like, for instance, I will cast my pearls before swine, so to speak, and I don't know, play quote unquote wifey.
I feel like you're very all in all the time.
I'm all in all the time.
If you think you like this person, you're ready to get married.
Listen,
not literally.
Yeah, but it's like, just like I'm ready.
You're like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah, and I don't like. It's so weird because I'm not afraid of commitment, but it's like when I find somebody who's willing to commit, that's when I panic. That's when I'm like, okay, no. So it's
maybe
like,
you are afraid of commitment.
No, but it's like then I'm so used to like there is a pattern I've seen of people who have commitment issues who aren't ready for a relationship, at least not a relationship with me, because it's so funny because they'll be like, okay, I'm not ready for a relationship, you're a great guy, but then 2 minutes
later
they're
dating someone else. It's not you, it's me.
Right? But then I don't know, but then I find that like I am literally willing to break my back bending over backwards to accommodate and facilitate people who don't deserve it.
You're very offering.
Yeah, and it's like that's, and I don't want to say I regret anything, but I don't want to say I don't regret anything.
I regret something.
I regret everything. All my life choices, all of them. And
the first day I was born, I regret it.
Like I ruled the day.
Downhill ever since.
I ruled the day, but I don't know. It's like I'm trying to break out of that pattern where I feel like I have to go above and beyond to prove that I'm worthy of love. You know what I mean? That I'm deserving of it. And it's like the minute I find.
Are you trying to prove to yourself?
Maybe, perhaps, because like sometimes I. See,
is this a therapy session?
Can you imagine?
Therapizing each other.
Well, listen,
I'm therapizing you
for sure. Like, how much per hour are you charging? Jeez, but and I feel like that's part of the reason why I'm not so comfortable with the idea of like being in a relationship right now, because there's so many things that I need to unpack, and I don't know if I'm like emotionally or mentally equipped or financially equipped to deal with the implications of a stable, mature, healthy relationship yet, because all I've known is chaos and drama, and I don't know if
Are you personally in that like place of peace where you can invite another peaceful person,
I mean,
coexist together? That's not a question.
oh,
Throwing it out. That's what we're trying to figure out.
right. But well, that's I know it's not a question, but I'm going to answer it anyway. Because I have had encounters with individuals where it's like, you know what, this person seems like a suitable partner. And even like recently, I've been talking to this one particular individual who shall remain nameless, who I could see myself dating, and
How long have you been talking to this person?
almost 2 months. But shut the fuck up.
They're basically married.
Basically married. But it's like he's not ready to date yet, which is completely fine. We're in a panic. And we've already like had this discussion with each other that, you know what, like if we need to like take it slow and figure things out, I'm 100% okay with that. Because even though like based on our personalities, I'm way more like willing to like commit and like, you know, like take things forward. I recognize that like we still have a lot of work to do, because it's not my place to even like go into his like whole thing, but he's not fully out yet, and he still has things to work on his own, and I am willing to like work with that. You know what I mean? And maybe a part of me is just like, maybe I kind of view it as like a project.
I was just about to say that. Is this like a
Like, but it's not to say that I don't like respect him, because I do. I have
like it's a challenge?
yeah,
like,
it may be,
okay.
because it's just like, okay, what happens when I do convince him that I'm a suitable dating partner?
You shouldn't
Like,
have to convince him, though.
that's a very good point. I always feel like I have to convince people, like, you know, I am worthy, or like,
Love me.
love me. Why don't you
Choose
love
me.
Pick
Love
me.
Pick me. Meredith girl.
Listen, but it's just, but it's just like the minute somebody changes their mind and they're like, I do love you, I do choose you, I'm like, nope, never mind. And then I just like start
Thank you
all
for the
over.
option.
Thank
though.
you for the option. And I don't know what it is. It's psychotic. It's, I don't even
Is
know.
it in the pursuit where you get the
The chase?
excitement, and once it's
Perhaps.
like settled, you're like, okay, I need to bring back chaos into this.
Maybe. But it's just, it goes back to what you're asking, what we were talking about earlier, where like maybe I feel as if like once I meet that person who is willing to like work with whatever baggage I have, like which we all have, then I won't feel that need to like contort myself into a million positions to be seen as less of a mess than I actually am. Right? So I can just switch in my position for you. But yeah, no, I can just be my most authentic self in all my chaotic glory. I don't know. But yeah, I'd say my dating experiences, my dating patterns definitely differs from you, because while I am able to like ignore red flags and facilitate a lot of stuff, you don't. You're like, you're the first sign of a red flag, you're like, bye.
I don't think that's true.
No?
Because with the most recent messy thing that I had, I told you about it, and you were like, how did you not? So I don't know. Maybe it depends on the person.
Do you have any deal breakers?
I have a lot of deal breakers.
What's your biggest?
Obviously, my biggest. Oh, I'm like somebody who's like overly religious.
Well, I know, it's like, it's very culty.
Sorry to the Christians.
No tea, no shade.
Okay, I'll just list a few, I guess.
Sure.
Like anybody who's like homophobic.
For sure.
That's like a number one deal breaker.
Because it's like, how can you be an ally or call yourself an ally but be dating someone who's homophobic?
Exactly.
It make sense.
Anybody who like is negative all the time. Like their presence, their they complain about every single thing.
Nothing is ever right.
I cannot have that in my space. So that's like a red flag for me. Like, no, thank you. What else? Talking about like relationships. I was just talking about people in general, but I guess it's relationship red flags. Obviously, like in my last relationship, I was very trusting. I was like, this nigga
And
not
then he
cheating.
ended up betraying your trust.
I don't know why, but I defended him. I was like, I remember I
He
was
would
working.
never.
Yeah, I remember I was working, and he's a photographer. And when I was working for the summer in somewhere, and I was telling my coworkers about him, and because and they were like, "Oh yeah, he's getting all that photography."
That photographer post.
And I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah,
like, it's not.
He's
happening.
not like the others.
He's not like the others. He's not. And honestly, I'm not like talking shit about my ex because I don't think he's a bad person. He
Debatable.
he did a bad thing, or in my opinion as well, because I don't know how he feels about the situation. Because obviously, my side of the story. But like, what was I saying again?
You're talking.
Red flags.
Listen, it's so funny even like bring up like he wasn't a bad person, he just did a bad thing. Because I feel like I have this thing in my head where it's just like somebody's like 100% good or 100% bad.
You're black and white?
I'm very black and I don't like to admit it, but I am.
I don't think I am.
Because it's just,
maybe in certain things. Because it's like you're either a Trump supporter or you're not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
BT dubs, fuck Trump. But also, it's just.
We're cutting that.
But also, it's just. I don't know.
Deal breakers.
Deal breakers.
So, we'll do 5 or 4 deal breakers.
Yeah.
5 each. And then we'll.
Especially since after wrap up in like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So, how many did you have?
I don't remember what to say, but I'll just go over my 5.
No,
relationship-wise.
All right, so my deal breakers in a relationship. I love someone who can communicate. So if you're having a bad day, or you're not in the mood to talk, or you're feeling anxious or uncomfortable, or you're upset with something that I said, let me know. Like, speak your truth.
Or I say I'm not ready to talk about
Literally.
it.
I'll respect that. I'll work with
Don't
that.
be malicious about it.
Exactly. Don't be passive aggressive.
It's funny you say that because
you're not.
I feel like I'm passive aggressive. I'm trying not to be.
Same.
I'm trying to be better, of course, but I feel like in my past relationships,
we're a work in progress for sure.
Yeah.
My second deal breaker, I hate liars. And I'm surrounded by liars. Like, nobody tells me the truth, which is, except for you, of course. So it's like everybody's just, if they're not enabling me, they're just like feeding me bullshit. And then I'm just like, listen, just tell me the truth. So I hate people who are like dishonest. I really don't respect people who are dismissive and aren't willing to open their minds or expand their consciousness.
That's one of mine.
And if
that's definitely top for me.
Of course. And if you're stubborn or stuck in your ways, and
it's not gonna work.
It's not gonna work. I'm gonna get annoyed really easily. Another deal breaker for sure. Bad hygiene. Oh, gross.
Gross. You mentioned that.
I hate it. And lastly, my biggest deal breaker is someone who won't shower me in undivided attention 24/7.
Even your love language is quality time.
That's definitely.
I feel like everybody I know says their love language is quality time. Somebody might be lying. It's not me. I feel like you love gifts. Like you want people to buy you shit all the time.
It's so fun.
Is that your second?
My second would probably be acts of service. For sure.
Yeah.
But it's so funny, like my type is like kind people, but deep down I'm just like, be rich, have money.
Buy me things.
Ain't no romance without finance. But yeah, relationships are a tricky thing to navigate, but I think that we are doing the best we can with what we have.
I agree with all of that. And I'll add one final one is people that gaslight you.
Oh, fuck.
People who make you feel bad for saying how you feel. Like you did something that like personally offended me or made me feel some type of way.
Or make us feel crazy.
And I voice it to you and you switch it around on me and make me feel like I hate that.
I know.
I experienced that for a while and I hate it, and I'm sure everybody does, but a lot of people might not notice it and they're like in this constant back and forth with it. But yeah, like my love here says, we're trying to figure it out.
We're a work in
navigating.
progress.
And I mean, after all of that, who wouldn't want to date us?
So yes, we're single.
Yeah.
Submitting boyfriend applications and
Slide in the DMs.
yeah. But thanks for tuning in to 20 somethings, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.